Dr. Boyce Watkins is an American author, economist, political analyst, and social commentator. He came into Pittsburgh in 2016 and spoke at the Kelly Strayhorn Theater. Make comments on any points that you like and some points that you don't like. I'll be interested to see what you like the most and what you didn't like the most. Hit that subscribe button so I can bring you more videos like this and on many other subjects. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day.
Pulled it off somehow. And where did all this come from? So I went back and I read about his father, Fred Trump, who was born in 1905. And I read about, and whenever I see a great man or a great woman, I always look at the parents, the mother and the father, and I say, well, where does this come from? You know, for example, Martin Luther King Jr. never fascinated me as much as Martin Luther King Sr. Donald Trump is interesting, but Fred Trump is interesting as well. So Fred Trump was born in 1905. He was a lumber helper at an early age because his father died when he was 13, so he only had the mother in the house. So he then went from being an unskilled laborer to being a skilled laborer. He learned how to do carpentry. And then he went from being a skilled laborer to being an owner. He started buying the apartment buildings and renting them out and all this stuff. So by the time Donald was born in 1946, he was 41 years old. He was worth millions of dollars. He was able to pave a certain path for his children to have a certain kind of power. Now, again, putting the politics aside, you can think what you want about the guy. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm talking about how power is built, how it's built in this country, and how it's built through multi-generational planning. Most powerful, wealthy families plan across many, many generations. They don't just sort of think about the family now. So by the time Donald was 18, his father put him in the military academy. So he learned discipline, he learned the art of war, he learned strategy, he learned how to fight in battles even when people don't like you. He learned that people respecting you is a lot more important than people liking you. See, black folks, we in the business of everybody we're trying to get everybody to like us. We're looking for approval constantly. We're constantly seeking validation from the very people who strip you of everything. I mean, we're really sick. We're the only group of people that really thinks you can fight oppression by complaining to your oppressor how oppressed you are. They already know that they're oppressing you. They know that it's working, and they don't care. I mean, imagine if a pig in a slaughterhouse or a cow in a slaughterhouse tried to get the butcher to understand the pain of being slaughtered and the trauma of watching your friends die and how horrible it is. He wouldn't care. He would say, you're a pig, you're a cow, you're not human. Your pain does not matter to me. Well, one of the first steps toward the slaughter of black people must be the dehumanization of black people. Going all the way back to the fact that hundreds of years ago, they decided that you were barely 3/5 of a person. You were property. So when you see something as dehumanized, when you see another human being as less than human, then you become totally desensitized to their pain. There are studies that show that white people believe that black people feel less pain than they do. That's why 20 people can die in France. Everybody changes their Facebook status update. But 300, 400 people could die in Kenya and nobody says a word because they don't feel your pain. They see you as less than human. So in order to fight back against that oppression, you need more mobilization than you need sort of this olive branch bridge building that some of us try to do. You know, you see these people running up behind Hillary Clinton and everybody else trying to find some way to get some sort of acknowledgement from the people who refuse to acknowledge it. And I think we should reject that notion in our company. Now, his father had built in his generation. Also, his father sent him to learn economics and business at the highest levels from the smartest people in the world. He started studying at the Wharton School. He graduated from Fordham. So he was well-trained in economics, well-trained in strategy and competition and warfare. He was also given assets and resources to work with. So instantly, in a very short period of time, before the age of 30, Donald Trump was one of the most significant people in the city of New York. Not because he was smarter or better and all these other things, but because the foundation was laid for him long before he ever got into the game. So, when we talk about our children competing, you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do right now in this generation that's going to allow my children to be ahead of the game before they even get into the game? What am I going to do to make sure that they have the proper preparation in terms of skill, in terms of resources, so that they don't have to spend all their time solving little shit? So you can't do the big shit if you're always worried about the little shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really. You know, you can't go out here and go conquer the world or become president or do all these really big things to save the whole community when you're worried about just getting $600 to pay the light bill and the rent and the car note, right? And a lot of our greatest talent, a lot of our most capable people have their talent amputated at an early age because they're spending all their time solving tiny problems, dealing with little shit. So the best thing I would say that we can do for our children is to make sure that we position them where they don't have to spend all their time solving little problems so they can get started early in the game. Now, with that being said, let me tell you this. I grew up, I feel so ashamed to admit this, but I grew up a Cowboys fan. Now, please go ahead and let the boos out. Go ahead and boo me. Tomatoes. Who won the game, by the way? I don't know who won the game. Oh, man, so that's even worse. Somebody's going to jump me when I walk out this building. Wow. Well, you know, I respect that family that owns the Steelers a lot, you know, for giving brothers opportunities. You know, the brother that was coaching and whatnot. I've always sort of noticed that and have a lot of respect for that. But anyway, with that being said, one of the things I was thinking about in terms of football is that when you think about the way the economic game is played in America and why it's so important to understand how the economics in this country works, is that America is a capitalist democracy. Let me say that. It is a capitalist democracy. Now, what does that mean? That means that there are sort of two elements of power that kind of shift the landscape in this country. Capitalism and so-called democracy. Now, here's the problem, though. The capitalism is the big brother, and the democracy is the little brother. And the big brother bullies and dominates the little brother. The capitalists, the people that control money, the people that control wealth, the people that understand the economic system in this country, have pretty much bought out all of your politicians. That's why I don't have a lot of faith in them. Most of them are owned by corporations. Now, here's the issue. Everybody has a role in this system. If you think about the economic system, you think about it like a building. Think about it like a building where everybody wants to live at the top. The higher up in the building you live, the better off you are. So the way to get to different parts of the building depends on where you enter the building. Some people fly their children in with a helicopter on the roof, so they start off in the penthouse. And some people send their children through the basement. You see, black folks are part of the economic system. The unfortunate reality, though, is that you have been commodified in the system. You look at the prison industrial complex. Billions of dollars are being made by incarcerating your fathers and your brothers and your uncles and your husbands and all these black men. It's directly linked to slavery. Go read the new Jim Crow. Look at the NCAA. Look at how many billions of dollars they make from mostly African-American athletes that come from black neighborhoods. The list goes on and on. You know, they say that black people can't create jobs, but that's not true. We create a lot of jobs for other people. There are people that literally study you the way the alligators study the migration of the wildebeest across Africa. The alligators and the lions and all, and they know that when the wildebeest come herding across Africa, it's going to be a good time to eat. And when you're not aware of how this system works, you instantly become commodified and victimized by it. In a way, you're a lot like the KFC chicken who gets invited over for dinner, and you really think that you're there to eat. When you don't realize it, you're there because they're going to eat you. So from the time your children are born, their plan, the economic system's plan, capitalism is a beast with no heart. It cares nothing about people. That beast is preparing to eat your children, period. If you send your children down the standard path that everybody else goes down, same schools, listening to the same media, under the same influences, the same things are going to happen. Most of the boys in the school systems are going to grow up thinking they're either going to be a rapper or an athlete, right? We know this. Or a thug nigga, because that's what they heard on the radio, right? If you spend all your time imitating Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan, then you'll never compete with Bill Gates. You'll never compete with Mark Zuckerberg. So all these traps are set in place at a very early age to make sure that your children are incapable of competing, but yet at the same time, they play a role in the commodification and the enrichment of other people. So to think about football, since we're thinking about football, the Cowboys and the Steelers and all this stuff going on, being thrust into this economic system as a young person with no training on wealth or no training how money works, no training on entrepreneurship, no training on anything involving money or capitalism, it's a lot like being thrown in the middle of a football game when you've never even seen a football in your life. You don't have pads on, you don't know which way the end zone is, you don't know how to score points. You don't know anything about that game. Imagine that. Imagine you haven't been trained, you haven't been prepared on any level. Imagine somebody threw you in the middle of the Cowboys and Steelers football game and you had no training on what to do when you got on that field. You would get killed. You would be slaughtered. That's what happens when we send our children out into the economic system and they have not been trained on wealth. And I need people to understand that this is a matter of life and death. I don't talk about wealth. I mean, I was a finance professor for 13 years and all that stuff, but I don't talk about wealth and money because I want to teach everybody how to get rich. If you want to get rich, fine. I mean, there's ways to do that, but that's not why I talk about it. I talk about it because this is a matter of survival. Think about it like this. There's pretty much two things that most adults think about every day of their life. Money and sex. Those are the two things. And if you say you don't talk about sex, you're lying. You're probably the freakiest one up in here. So what I was thinking about is I said, so many of us stress over money. So many of us make the most critical decisions in our lives about when it comes to sex. They shape everything that we're able to do for the next 20, 30 years. Why is it that in most households, families never talk about either one? When you have the conversation about sex, it's like, boy, I better not catch you doing it. I mean, good luck with that, right? That ain't gonna work, right? You find there's millions of years of evolution when you tell the child, just don't do it. You need to have a conversation with them about it, right? Well, the same thing is true with money. When you talk about money, it's so fascinating to me that we don't talk about it at all. And I did the math, and I do weird stuff like this, and I said, it's interesting. It takes 157,680 hours to raise a child from the time they're born to the time they turn 18 years old. It only takes about maybe 500 to 1,000 hours of work to learn how to be a really good entrepreneur, to learn how to create a job instead of going out and begging a white man for a job, right? Which is critical, especially for black men, because you are the most likely to be unemployed, the most likely to be incarcerated, the most likely to be marginalized, the most likely to be stressed out on the job. I mean, this is killing you. This really has physiological effects. People die earlier in our community because of things like heart disease and all this other stress, hypertension, everything else that we get, because every day you get up and you go work for people who hate your guts, and the reason they don't respect you is because they know you have nowhere to go. You have no options. Why? Well, because you didn't prepare yourself to have options from the beginning. So I was thinking about that, and I said, it's crazy to me because you got all these kids, 157,000 hours to prepare your child for the world, and you'll see kids that get to the age of 18, can't read, can't write, can't do math, can't start a business, but somehow they know how to do every single dance on the radio. They know the nene, the quan, the dug, whatever the dances are, they know all the dances. And it makes me mad. It doesn't mean dancing is bad. People can dance all day. I'm not talking about dancing. Fine, dance. That's what you want to do. But make sure you put your priorities first. You have to put first things first. So when you talk about wealth building and you talk about learning how money works, this should not be something extra and optional and extracurricular that we teach our kids just in case they want to learn it. This should be something they learn as early as they learn how to go to church. Like you ask a child, ask a black child in any family, when's the first time your grandmama took you to church? They can't tell you because the grandma was taking them to church when they were 2 weeks old. Well, if I ask you, when's the first time that your parents talked to you about money or about investing? You shouldn't remember. You shouldn't be able to tell me. You should say, I don't know. We've just been talking about it my whole life. My dad just always said that every black man should have his own business, so that's what I did. It starts with things as simple as that. One of the best entrepreneurs I know is a guy who made millions of dollars by the time he was 30 years old. And I said, well, why'd you learn how to be such a great entrepreneur? He said, well, my dad used to just say, every black man should have his own business. So when I went to college, I majored in entrepreneurship. I said, well, did your father have his own business? He said, no, he was a truck driver. And I said, really? So he said, yes. He said, yeah, but when I heard my father say it over and over again, I took those next steps. And now that I've run my own business, I don't even know, I can't imagine working for another person. Like once you get freedom, you don't have to really teach people to want freedom. Is anybody here an entrepreneur? Anybody run a business? Okay, how many of y'all would gladly want to go back? How many of y'all are looking for a job, looking to go back to work for a company? Nobody. Once you know freedom, what happens is you get to that point where you say, wait a minute, so this is what life is supposed to be like. This is the way you're supposed to live. You see, you had to be trained to believe that it makes sense for you to spend 8 to 10 hours a day doing work that you wouldn't even be doing if they weren't giving you money. I mean, you had to be trained that. You look at the history of this, the history of corporatization. They marketed this idea, and they really did a number on women, unfortunately, with feminism saying that if you stay home with your kids, you're a complete loser. you're supposed to abandon your kids and go hang out in the factory all day. Right? They did that. And that bothers me because I don't think there's any job on earth more important than raising your children for any of us. Right? And so, really, if you think about it, in fact, let's do the math on this. I'm a numbers guy. Think about it like this. Most of us, if we work for somebody else, will spend about 10 hours a day, either at work, coming home from work, going to work, whatever, recovering from work, all of that, right? 10 hours a day, multiply that by 5 days a week, that's 50 hours a week. Multiply 50 times 50. So say you get 2 weeks of vacation a year, so you work 50 hours a week, that's 2,500 hours in a year. Multiply it over a decade, that's 25,000 hours in a decade, that's 100,000 hours over a 40-year period, from 25 to 65, till you retire. 100,000 hours. Now, I also did a calculation. How many hours do we have on this earth between 25 and 65? Well, we're not sleeping. I took sleep out. Sleep, you're just sleeping, right? I said we only have a total of about 233,000 hours of life. So you spend, out of 233,000 hours, you're spending 100,000 of those hours building somebody else's dream instead of your own. Doing work that you wouldn't be doing if you didn't have to. Spending time doing stuff that's pretty much trading hours and years of your life in exchange for a paycheck. And all of this really came from the fact that nobody taught you that there was any other way for you to provide for yourself and to get what you need. When I learned how to start a business, I thought that making extra money was going to be one of the main benefits, but that wasn't it. The money was fine. I made more money. I made 10 times more money I made as a professor. It was great. But I realized once I started making more money that money's not that important to me. Money, to me, is a little bit like a bathroom. Like, you ever have to really go to the bathroom and all you can think about is the bathroom, right? Like, that moment when you gotta pee, like, that's literally the most important thing in the world to you. And so you find the bathroom and you finally get to use it, and you're so happy because you found the bathroom, right? So after you use it, what do? Like, do you just sort of hang out in the bathroom just in case you gotta go again? Like, are you gonna go build a house with 10 bathrooms in it because you just wanna use the bathroom all day? No, you don't. You leave the bathroom and then you focus on things that matter. But if you have to go, if you have to use the bathroom, you can't focus on anything. If I had to use it bad enough, I would be like, I'm sorry, I got it. I'll give this speech after I go use the bathroom, right? So it's a need, it's an important need. But what happens is once you fulfill that need, you can focus on the things that matter. That's what they call in psychology. They call it Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Where you got lower level needs, higher level needs. Higher level needs fulfill you. They give you the chance to do what they call self-actualization. You get to do the work that really matters. You get to do the things that are important, like spending time with your children, hanging out with your parents before they die, going out and traveling the world, living the life that you want to live. But the reason that we can't get to the top of that pyramid of needs and fulfillment is because we are always solving little shit, dealing with little problems. And I'm going to tell you, I got a message from my friend this week. I'm not making this up. She sent me this note and she said, you know, Boyce, I've been hearing what you had to say for years and I've always agreed, but I never really acted on it. And she said, now I know I'm going to act on it. And I said, well, why? She said, well, because my mother's dying right now. The doctors told her that we have about four more months left with my mother. And she said, it makes me so angry that I can't spend these moments with my mother because I got to go to work. That I have to leave my mother's side to go to work. And I thought about that and I said, you know, when my parents eventually call me, one of them says, we only got a few months to live, we got some bad news from the doctor. I'm going to be the ultimate mama's boy. I will pack up all of my shit and I will go to Kentucky and I will sit by my mama's bed for 6 months so we can make sure we have a proper goodbye. A job cannot get in the way of that. I will not allow that to happen. So, if you think about this, this is so much deeper than just money. This ain't just, you know, one of those financial seminars, like here's how you do your 401k and your taxes. I can teach all of that. I mean, we teach all of that. You can join the Black Business School. It's online, it's totally free. Well, not everything's free. Some of the classes have a small fee, but it doesn't cost much, but you can join for free. We give a lot of free stuff. So I can teach you all of that. Basic, fundamental stuff, the nuts and bolts. That's what matters. It's very, very important. But in order for me to teach you those other things, I need you to understand from a basic DNA level why this is critical to the survival of your community. Why this is literally fundamental and deeply connected to the very source of the pain and oppression that we experience as Black people. That's extremely important to understand. If you don't understand that, then you just think money's all about balling and going to the club and throwing it in the air and buying nice cars and houses and all that stuff. All those things that we need for validation because we don't really love who we are. We need other people to make us feel like we're worthy, so we do stupid things with our money in order to fit in. In fact, there are studies that actually show that poor people and black people are most vulnerable to insane, ridiculous kinds of consumption when it comes to crazy spending, because we believe that if we have nice stuff, have a nice car, have nice clothes, have nice whatever, that people will treat us better. It allows you to fit in. It's an artificial kind of validation. In fact, the best mind I'm not going to cuss because I saw a child in the crowd. I'm going to stop cussing. Y'all, if y'all watch my podcast online, y'all see I cuss all the time. I try not to, but my daddy cusses like a sailor. I blame it on him. But look, the ultimate example of this is Beats by Dre headphones. Beats by Dre headphones are really interesting to me. Fascinating. Again, I analyze it the same way I analyze the Donald Trump presidency. I don't take it personal. If somebody beats my ass, I want to know how they did it. Right? So I'm like, man, wow, you really humiliated me, man. You made me look stupid. How did you do it? It ain't going to happen no more. So we're going to figure this out. Right? So we're going to reverse engineer this so we can know what went down. So check this out. Here, Beats by Dre headphones. Very fascinating to me. Let me tell you why. Beats by Dre headphones, they're identified by the little B on the side of the headphones, right? You got the little B, especially if you're a young person, it makes you feel cool, makes you feel like you fit in, it means something to you, right? Go back, say, 8 years ago. That little symbol meant nothing, right? No one knew what it was. If you show it to a kid, they'd be like, why would I want that, right? But what did they do? Well, they spent a lot of money, and they marketed the headphones in such a way where they attached that symbol to people that you admire. So they got all the biggest celebrities, from LeBron James to Lil Wayne to Serena Williams to everybody else, having that little symbol on their head. So suddenly, the value starts to increase in our minds. Now, experts on audio will say that the Beats by Dre headphones are no better than headphones you could buy for $20, $25, right? But they charge, what, $200, $300 for them, sometimes as much as $1,000, whatever. And people buy it, people pay for it. It's just fascinating to me. But they cost, what, about $14 to make over in China, Taiwan, Indonesia, wherever they make them at. And so here's what's happening when you give them $250 to buy a pair of Beats by Dre headphones. You're giving them real money. You swipe your credit card, maybe you go in debt, or maybe you give them cash, give them your last, or whatever. And it's funny, I see a whole lot of Negroes that buy Beats by Dre headphones for $250, but then tell you they can't afford a $25 book. Right? It tells you how we think, right? Some of us will pay for what we want and beg for what we need. Right? Because a lot of our society is driven by instant gratification, all this other stuff. So you're giving them $250 of real money. They can use this money to build a bigger company. They can use this money to make investments for their family. They can use this money to send their kids to college. They can use this money to do all kinds of stuff because it's real cash. They gave you $14 in economic value, because the headphones cost $14 to make. They gave you $14 of economic value and a $236 illusion. $236 worth of self-esteem, artificial self-esteem. Those kinds of transactions create what some might call a trade deficit, or Dr. Anderson wrote about in his book, he called it the doctrine of unequal exchange, which they say that that's actually how the Europeans were able to conquer Africa and turn Africa from one of the wealthiest continents in the world to one of the poorest, and Europe from one of the poorest to one of the wealthiest. They gave the African leaders, they would give them things like religious artifacts, they give them Bibles, they give them stuff to decorate with. They were giving them silver, they were giving them gold, they were giving back leather, they were giving things that the Europeans were able to use to make their countries extremely wealthy. Right? Go read Black Labor, White Wealth. He talks about this, he breaks it all down. So in our community, many of us are affected by that very same doctrine of unequal exchange. The corporations play with your head from the very beginning, from a very early age, to convince you that there's value when there is none. They study you like rats in a lab to know your every move. They know when you're going to get your tax refunds. They know about all of that. And they're eating off of you. They're making money off of you. Now, I'm not here to say there's anything wrong with you if you buy some Beats by Dre headphones. Everybody has a guilty pleasure. Or if you want to get a pair of Jordans, nothing wrong with that. But when you get your child a pair of Jordans, make sure you also buy them some shares of Nike stock. you know, when you buy the Beats by Dre headphones, make sure that you teach them also how to start a lemonade stand or whatever. I heard a woman tell me one of her children was in our program for kids, and she was saying that her daughter, it was the funniest thing in the world to me, and I loved it. I saw David Banner recently, and I was joking with him about this story, because I think it's such a simple way to understand that this is not that complicated. So her daughter, because she had learned the fundamental principle of business, which is buy low, sell high. Sell it for more than what you bought it for. That's it. That's what a lot of people do. They buy it over here for this price, sell it for that price, right? So her daughter, she said she came home and her daughter had, all the Oreo cookies were gone. And so her daughter had a band of money. She had like a pocket full of money. She's like, well, where'd you get all the money? Where are my damn cookies? That's what her mama said. And the daughter said, well, I sold the cookies. She said, I took them and I put them in a plastic bag and I sold them one cookie at a time for $1 a piece. So this girl took a $4 bag of cookies. So she said to her mom, she said, so mama, I need you to go to the store and buy some more cookies so I can re-up. And her mama said, no, you're going to buy these cookies. But here's the thing. So what did she do? She translated something that was $4 into $40 worth of value because she thought like an entrepreneur. When somebody thinks like an entrepreneur, it's really a lot like being an animal in the woods that knows how to hunt for food. You know how to create your own environment. You're not sort of like the caged animal. The caged animal sort of sits in the cage and doesn't learn how to hunt. They're fat and lazy. They think the zookeeper is their best friend, even though he's the one that's got them in captivity. And he's their best friend because he's the one that's bringing the food that you get to eat. And when he decides not to feed you, you starve to death. Well, many of us, I can't tell you how many times I've heard black folks tell me that they don't have what they need or they're about to get evicted because white folks ain't hiring. There's a brother who said that to me. He was a rapper. And I said, don't say that stuff to me, man. That's weak. I don't want to hear that stuff. White folks ain't been hired for 400 years. Like, I mean, what's new? Like, we're not solving this problem by you trying to convince me to feel sorry for myself. I'm not very good at self-pity, and I'm not going to accept that from you. And I said, now look, you're a rapper, you're a good rapper, but all I see you doing is making songs, going up in the booth with your boys with some weed, making the hottest songs, the hottest beats, all that. That's beautiful. I know a lot of artists that make great music just like you do. They come a dime a dozen. Every week I hear from 10 hip-hop artists that want me to somehow help them become successful or whatever. It's funny, like you get tied in a certain space, people link you to that. You know, so there's this like rapper, she's a woman, her name's Young M.A., and people think somehow I made her famous, and I didn't do it. But people think that, so now I'm hearing from all these rappers. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to say to all these rappers that are reaching out to me? I love them, because some of the hip-hop artists are actually some of the most brilliant people in our community. They really are. If you really listen to the lyrical dexterity that they are absolute geniuses, many of them. And so I said, well, the first thing I told this brother is what I tell a lot of them. I said, well, how much time do you spend studying business? I said, because the rappers I know that are doing well, when we talk on the phone, we don't talk about beats and music and lyrics and all that. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about sales. We're talking about distribution. We're talking about e-commerce. We're talking about branding. We're talking about all the merchandise that you can sell at your concerts. We're talking about how you can hold a concert and make it into a profitable event. We're talking about all these things. We're not talking about music. There's a whole lot of people that know how to rap. There's a whole lot of us. We're very, very good at knowing how to get on stage and impress people. What we don't focus on is how to build the stage. How do you finance the stage? And so what I have found is that the people in entertainment that have the most power are not the celebrities that you know about. A lot of the celebrities that we think are very wealthy, many of them are struggling. Even the ones that you really know for sure have tons of money, they're not doing as well as you might think. The people that have the power are the people that got the money, the people that set up the business model. So the one instruction I would give to you, that I would share with you, is that your child, if you have a child, that child should learn the basics of entrepreneurship and business models before they are 12 years old. And if you're really smart and ambitious, you'll make it happen before then. 12, I set the bar low for people that really believe black people can't do nothing. You know, you got the Negro naysayers who just believe, who find a problem for every solution. You know, people, every time I tell them that it's possible for us to fix certain things, they're like, well, you know, Dr. Boyce, it's just really hard out here. There ain't no resources out here. You know, I'm going to tell you like this. Black people, we have 1.1 trillion in spending power. Has anybody heard that? Let me tell you this. You do a list, a ranking. I looked at a ranking of nations around the world based on gross domestic product. That's the value, the economic value of all the goods and services produced by that nation. Do you know that our 1.1 trillion in spending power exceeds the gross domestic product of about 80% of the countries on this planet? I'm talking about Venezuela, Egypt, I think Switzerland was on the list. All these countries. So if we can't build nothing here, that means Egypt and Switzerland and Venezuela and Iraq and all these other countries, or Iran, all these other countries can't build anything because they don't have enough resources. We've got everything we need. We just have to kill the slave mentality. We've got to kill our addiction to working for our oppressor. We've got to shape a culture where the first conversation you have with a child about making money, it doesn't start with go get a job and hope that somebody gives you a paycheck. You're walking them right into the grips of white supremacy. I mean, there are people literally, even in the White House, there were people who literally felt that the best way to solve the black unemployment crisis was to get white people to give black people more jobs. And I said, well, what are you talking about? That makes no sense, because what you're doing is you're making us more deeply indebted to white supremacy. You're putting us more deeply into the lion's den of frustration that is causing people to lose their minds already. I can't tell you how many people I know who are on antidepressants because they can't tolerate going to work every day. I knew a brother one time who went to his job every day. He said that the stress on the job tore through his spirit so much that all the testosterone literally had left his body. I've never heard anything like that. I'm not a doctor, but I didn't know that could happen. I mean, we're talking about emasculation in a figurative sense. He literally had his testicles drained pretty much from this experience because every day he had to go into this place where he was treated like a little boy instead of like a man. And so he said that getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to him, because he said that when he was working, he said, I was depressed all the time. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't perform for my.
Thanks for watching the video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so I can bring you more videos on subjects like this and many other topics. Please leave any comments in the comment section. Any questions or comments, I'll get back to them as soon as I possibly can. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.